Okay, I got it.
You did it.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
October 1st, all of the proposals are due. So I have a feeling fine arts may have quite a few this year. I don't know, just kind of what I've heard, in the talk and stuff like that. I think NSCTA is a great driving force for those legislative changes. So just make sure that we're, if there is something that NSCTA wants to push through, that we're pushing it through in as many districts as possible. Seems like that kind of helps spark those changes if lots of different districts approve those during their November district meeting. So October 1st is a big due date. And then I just have one other thing as far as updates. Just kind of, this is super exciting. The NSAA we're finalizing a partnership with, and it's the first partnership of its kind for the arts, our activities, speech and play production. And we're finalizing plans with the Johnny Carson School of Theater and Film for a very unique partnership there. There's going to be thousands in scholarship money and things like that.
Great.
So
wow.
Right now we're just kind of hammering out what that's going to look like for play production, but a really cool thing. Sorry, I'm admitting other people. A really cool thing with that is our most outstanding performers at state play production in every class. Basically they'll get admission into Johnny Carson School of Theater and Film plus a nice size scholarship. And then on
That's so cool.
The opposite end of that, so when state happens, directors fill out, their medalists, the top 25, of who on their team they want to medal, or at least have their medal name announced during awards. And this year, what we'll do is we'll have all of the state qualifying teams, their directors also put on who their top 2 techies are. And so those techies will become, and it'll be linked to the technical theater award that's given at state. And that, so if, I don't know, if my team wins the outstanding tech award at state, then the top 2 people that I've listed as my top 2 techies will also get scholarships into Johnny Carson School of Theater and Film. So kind of a cool, unique thing. And we're talking about how speech is going to look. And I know that they're going to be there as well. So just kind of a cool new.
What a great partnership. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
I think so too. It'll really align well with state play production at Carson Theater in Norfolk, Johnny Carson School of Theater and Film, things like that. So I'm very excited.
There will be a lot of excitement generated with that, I think.
Yeah,
yes.
I would agree.
Great. Yes.
Well, tonight, our special guests are in the room. We have Jane Tepley, we have Janet Rose, and we have Enid Hansen. And perhaps Linda might join us later. I don't see her yet. But they're going to kick off our initial Sunday Night Scaries Zoom, and they're just going to kind of talk about judging and their experiences over the years, and hopefully give us a little bit of wisdom for how they've survived as long as they have.
That sounds good.
I'm just giving you guys heck, but yeah, so I don't know. Do you guys want to, let's have you guys introduce yourselves and go from there.
Well, I'm Enid Hansen. I don't know what else you want to know. I've been around forever and love it. I just love it. I love seeing what kids do and so forth, and how the competition has improved from year to year. We know we have some really great theater out there. And I hope our hope is to improve the quality as we go.
Absolutely.
Janet,
you want to go for it?
And
Linda's trying. Excuse me. Go ahead.
No, she's trying to get on.
Yeah, she's trying to get on.
Yeah, she will. I think she will now, won't she?
Yes, she will.
I think so. Yeah. I'll bet she's been driving. She was in Colorado for the game. And so she's probably driving home this afternoon, I'll bet. Anyway, I've been in theater and speech and debate since the early 1970s. I know that's been a long time ago. For some of you, it's longer than you are old. I know you're younger folks than that. But one comment I would like to make about that is that over those years, it has been my privilege and all the others too, I think, to watch this program grow.
Oh, yes.
Play production has grown so much in all of those years. Early on, folks, there were, and Skip will know this too, there were hardly any contests. There were maybe one or two a year. There might have been a district and a conference. And then if you were fortunate to go to state, well, that was grand, but not a guarantee, and that was kind of it. But now look at all the contests we have. It's been such a great event to watch it grow. And all the kids, there's so many more kids that can be involved in it now. And that is why we're here. We're here for the kids. Always have been, always will be.
And
They are
can
the
I
most important. Yes, go ahead.
add to that, these
Yes.
festivals
Mhm,
that have come in existence
Mhm.
in the last years
mhm.
are so helpful, I think, in
Yes.
guiding things that they don't see, and so that helps develop it. And there
Right.
are a lot of them anymore.
right.
There are a lot of festivals.
Uh-huh.
How do super basketball players do well? They repeat, they keep practicing. And so
Mhm, mhm.
that's what all those wonderful festivals are for.
They are.
Allow a cast to get out
Mhm.
and find their bearings and learn what they can improve. It's just astonishing to me. I think when I go to state and get to watch the wonderful plays that are there, I am just
Mhm.
astounded at the brand of
Oh,
drama in
too.
the state
Yeah.
of Nebraska. It is beyond belief. It's
Mhm.
just, there's no comparing it to, what we had in the late 70s or early 80s.
right.
It's not your typical high school shows that we saw in the early 70s. Not at all.
No, oh, no.
It's gone way beyond that.
Scripts and everything, I think.
Mhm, mhm.
Quality and the possibilities within a script are astounding.
And that's
Yeah.
really with the Johnny Carson School of Theater and Film. So they were interested in this last year, but it was kind of too late. We had some partnerships already, agreed upon, I guess, and they weren't quite sure what play production was, and so we invited them to state. Never heard anything beyond that, and one of their like the teacher, his name's Tim, grew up in Albion. He knows Ruth. He reached out and was like, I think he sat in on Class A finals and was like, oh my gosh, like I moved here a few years ago from LA after living in LA for 20 years, and this is the best theater I've seen in Nebraska, hands down. So it was really cool.
Very cool. Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? Skip, I'm sure you have seen everything we're talking about too. That all the contests and the festivals that are happening now that didn't used to happen.
No, and you summed it up really well. Used to be you would do it. Well, we didn't have a conference, so we would do it generally. We would do it for the parents and then districts, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the
Forgot about
festival,
that parents thing. Yes, yes.
the festival took off really right about the time I retired. Believe it or not, that's my 12th year of being retired. So, yeah. But I think it's so much better.
It is so much better. Yes.
They need to attend, 3 or 4 of these through the course of the time, I think. And then if you have a conference, good. If you don't, then you can go to districts. But if you don't, you're not allowing your kids to grow.
No,
Because you hear from more than just.
Yes.
Well,
and I
back,
think the
back in the
directors
day,
grow
remember, there was
too,
only
don't
2.
they? The directors do too.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
an opportunity.
More
to...
judges you can hear from. It's like speech,
Yes.
speech is, you went all those Saturdays. and you heard from so many people, but play production now has equalized with that as well,
has.
because
So
you
much
get
better.
so many
Yeah.
different critiques, which is the only thing that'll help you get
And
better.
I agree. And the fact is, you can have been telling your kids certain things time and time again. But when they're hearing it from an adjudicator,
Mhm.
Yep,
it means something.
It
Yep.
does.
I agree.
Mhm.
How many times do you hear directors say, I told them that same thing, they didn't listen, and then because the judge said it, they finally listened then, you know,
Yeah.
but
It's
that
like,
was true. That was true
Mrs.
back when
T,
I was coaching too. Yes. Yeah.
Mrs. T, you'll never believe me what they told.
I
They
know.
told me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Suddenly you were smart, weren't you?
yeah.
Yes, I know. I know. Linda's valiantly trying to get on. I think
We have both sent her stuff.
I know I've sent it
Yes.
to her too.
I have two.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I told her
hopefully
to
she'll be able to
on
get on
mine,
it.
I have to scroll all the way down to find
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah, it's not,
that's what I
well, that
told-
last email you sent, Taryn, it was very easy to see that. Here,
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
there.
That's
Well-
what I thought I
Mhm.
forwarded to her, but
That's what I did too. I think we did, but
Well, yeah.
I think
She'll get
something
on,
else
but-
that, as directors and Caitlin, I'm sure you do this already too. I know you do. Take advantage of the people that are in your town, your community. We are so fortunate here in Kearney and the surrounding area to have Green River, and they are so good to work with the kids. They'll work with little kids too. You know, they have summer programs for the young ones. And so you can start them in theater a long time. They could be in it before they ever get to high school, which is great. And I know that other communities have these things. I know that a lot of surrounding towns come into Kearney too to take their kids to the
Yes.
plays, to the workshops. And we're also, you know, we also have the university theater, and we hope anyway, and we also have community theater. And I'm sure other communities have lots of different resources for you there too. And I truly believe that if you just ask, people will be there to help. That they will more than likely say, yes, I will do that. Let me help you in any way I can.
They
And
want to
they're just
promote-
wonderful like that. I
They
think they
want to promote the theater. I agree.
that's right. That's right. Steve Bars
one-
was a theater student at Kearney High, and he still
And look
is
what
very
he's
loyal
done.
to the program, you know, and that's great. It is.
One thing I want to mention, I don't know how many of you, I know Skip has read the manual.
Yeah. Yes.
Karen, you've been busy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you haven't read it, read it. I mean, I read up to the point of running a contest because I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be, but I mean, how thorough. It's wonderful. When did you have time to do this with your,
I'm going to call Linda and see if we
Okay.
can get her.
I mean,
that was a
is
summer
actually-
project.
Well, it's wonderful.
yes.
And,
That's
you know,
great.
I ended up printing it out. I didn't intend to, but there were things I wanted to score. I mean,
Did you get the email that Karen sent just a little bit ago?
so I want to commend you on that, Taryn, because
Thank you.
things that weren't clear before are clear now.
Thanks. There this summer, yeah, we were, I don't know, just reading through the manual. You know, I think you do it over and over and over again, or I guess I do it over and over and over again, that you just look at it and you think, okay, like this is just written in stone. It's what the rules and everything else are. But then I don't know, just looking at everything, I went to the Constitution and there was so much left out. And I don't know how
Yes.
long it was left out, but it's been left out for as long as I can remember. So I just put
But-
everything in it. It's just full now. It's complete. And there were also a lot of little things here and there, and probably more so in speech than play production, but just a lot of it was almost like clarifications from the NSAA from this office, but then the way they were written was like they were written as though it was the bylaw, but that wasn't the case. It was just our interpretation, or, you know, a little clarifying information. So I don't know, just trying to clean it up a little bit so that it's complete.
It is.
Thank you.
Great job. Linda says she is driving and she thought that she would be able to hook up with us, but it hasn't helped. So, it hasn't worked out.
Oh,
So she
well,
just wants us
driving-
all to know how much she misses us. Yeah.
Yes, and she would have good input.
For sure.
I just, one thing, and there are different levels of performances in competition, and you have to be grateful for them all and give them all encouragement. There are some of them that I really wonder how they begin. Maybe they have a read through, maybe they don't, maybe they study their characters, maybe they don't. I sometimes feel they don't. And then to see how they fit together in a puzzle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And some of the smaller schools or even new coaches, directors, that is, I think are lost in all of that. And that's why too, that the festivals are good for them if they participate.
Mhm. Mhm.
And a lot of them
Is.
do.
Oh, she
But we
made
do
it.
see a lot of them over and over, don't we,
Yeah.
girls? At
Yes,
festivals.
we do.
So,
Mhm.
and
Yes, we do.
conferences
And we do watch them improve quite often too.
yes.
Yes,
But
which is,
sometimes you just think you really don't know how you fit in everything.
Mhm.
You're trying to do your best. You don't really know you yet. But then you've got to fit in and to the story rather than being out there in La La Land.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that they offer that to their students. I am,
Yes.
but I just,
Mhm. For sure. Mhm.
and as you said, Janet, there are people available who,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you just ask,
Yes, they're more than willing to help.
in various communities.
Oh, and not just like directing or choosing a play or working with kids, but also like costuming. We have wonderful costumers in our area too, in our state. And I know Cheryl is very good about, yes, I'll help you. She's built that way, and that's great.
She
She
had a
was a
good-
director too, and and there's others too, I know, but she's the one that of course
And
comes to my mind.
Her
Hello,
comment
Linda, you're
is-
on. You made it. That's good. Can you hear us?
I made it, yes.
Wow.
That's great.
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, you're on. That's
So
Welcome.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
Too many.
There she is.
Mhm. That's awesome.
So you're talking about where to go for help?
Yeah, well, that was one of the things we talked about. Yes. And we're so fortunate to have lots of resources in our area, but I'm sure other communities have resources too. Way out west, I know Tyler's talked about the things he has out there as resources. There's lots of people out there he can call on, and they help him, and back east they do too. And we are so fortunate to have lots of willing, able-bodied people who are willing to help the schools and the kids.
For sure.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that we've talked about so much about the speech and theater community is that everybody helps everybody else with
They
the
do.
idea, the better you get, the better I get, rather than trying to put people down, we bring people up. And I love that.
That's
Yes,
much
absolutely.
better, isn't it?
And in mentioning Cheryl, she's really built up her costumes.
Hasn't
And her
she? Oh,
program
yeah.
this summer, I thought, was really very good. At the workshop, she covered a lot of things in
Yeah,
there, which
did.
especially new directors could have benefited from. And they can still go back and watch it, right? It's still
Yes. Yep, it's
Mhm.
posted. All of the play production, the coach session and judge session are posted. I'm working on speech right now, but I got sidetracked last week with a few other things. So the speech isn't uploaded quite yet, but it will be.
It will be. That's great. Oh, you have nothing going on in your life. We know. You're just not very busy. We know, Terry.
Yes,
And
that's
in
correct.
fact, we wonder sometimes, do you sleep ever? Because you're
Yes.
busy all the time. That's
We're
good
so
though.
busy.
When
Yeah.
inspiration strikes, it strikes. So
That's a
whenever
good-
that is, might be at 3 a.m, or I don't know. Colin usually gets up around 1. He gets thirsty. So
Oh, he does. Okay.
yep.
He's so
Well, you're
cute. Oh,
young. You're young, and
mhm.
so
That's right.
that does make a difference. And that Colin is a little cutie. 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
Yep. It's his time to shine.
Okay.
Boy, I don't even 1 o'clock.
He knows he has your undivided attention then, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
Well, it's been a wonderful experience to be able to learn through play production, sort of the idea of walking in somebody else's shoes and finding out what life is beyond what we actually live. And
Mhm.
so when you are, taking on a character, you just learn so much, not only about
True.
that character and producing that play, but
Mhm.
what it's like to live in another person's shoes.
Mhm. That's right. That's a good thing too,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yes.
So
I
here's
always
the
think of
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mhm.
I always think of one time when my kids had done well and I was really proud of them. And so I said, if you could pick out one thing that made you excel so much and get so good, what would it be? And I thought, sure, they'd say something about their wonderful director. But what they said is, watch the best and do what they do. And so I think sometimes the
That's
field
wise.
trips you take to see a professional
Mhm.
play, or stay and watch the finals of
Mhm.
a
Oh.
contest, or
Yes.
go to the state play production. It's just a wonderful way to learn.
Yes.
Isn't it though? Yes.
So here's just a general question for anyone. Judges, I mean, judges are hired for the most part, based on geographical location of how close they are to a tournament or, a festival or whatnot. And that's awesome because that means that there are judges in the area. But how do judges that are watching the same shows, 2-3 times a season, how do you stay fresh on that? And then I guess the opposite end of that question for play production directors is, what do you hope, if a judge sees you at first in November and then, mid-November and then at districts, like what do you hope from that judge, watching you and seeing you over and over and over again? So just kind of a general question for anyone.
That's a good one.
I know
Go
that,
ahead.
especially in speech, but I think it probably happens in theater. I don't know that the directors study the ballots thoroughly. I know they're not going to do work on everything on a ballot or whatever,
Mhm.
but sometimes when it's been repetitive, when you've seen them several times, you really expect some of that to be done, or to be questioned. Why did you write that?
Mhm.
What are you meaning? And so you still, there's still going to be some improvement, but yes, I know what you're saying there, over and over, and sometimes
Mhm.
it can be 3 to 4 times.
Yep.
I tell you one thing that I've heard all of us judging people talk about is that we're so excited when we see they did improve. They are so
Yeah.
much better than they were last time, and we get excited about that. It's a good thing to see that improvement.
Mhm.
It really is. And if it may be something I said, it might be something that Skip said or Jane did or
Mhm.
Linda or Enid. It's just so exciting when they have on their own improved too. And that's good
And
too.
they need to hear that. They need to
Yes.
hear
Yeah.
that
Yes,
from us.
that's right.
That's
Mhm.
part of growth.
It is, yes. It's a good thing.
And
Mhm.
we are so amazed at the creativity and ability of the directors these days.
Mhm.
They just amaze
Oh.
us. And
Yes,
so it's just a joy to watch what
it
they
is.
do.
Mhm.
And like Janet said, to see the improvement is just awesome.
It really is. It really is. It just almost brings tears to your eyes sometimes. It's just the most wonderful thing. And you just know those kids are gonna go after it. They're gonna do it now, and it's been great. Yeah, it's a good thing. It is.
And on the coach
Yeah.
end of it, do any coaches like that are here, you know, what do you want from a judge that sees your team multiple times? Like, is there, you know, something that
Mhm.
you're seeking, I guess, as far as, you know, judging in the moment, or that you do want it to be based on, you know, like growth and you want comments on that? Or is it strictly, this is our show today and comment on the show? You know, what are you
Mhm.
guys thinking or wanting?
I can say for Carney, this will be my 5th year of teaching and coaching, and I've learned so much from all of the mentors here. I have just so many mentors that
More than you want, probably.
oh my gosh, so many. And I love it because and my team loves it. My team knows, like, when I say Jane or when I say Janet or when I say Enid or Linda or Skip, like, they know who these people are
Mhm.
because I talk about them and I run things by these people. But what I love to see and what we get every year is, are you analyzing characters? They ask very pointed questions of my kids, and it's like you just talked about earlier, like when a mom says something or a dad, and then they go to school and they're like, well, my teacher told me this. And we're like, yeah, we've been telling you that forever. Same
Duh.
thing. Either. When they hear it from judges, it just hits better.
Mhm.
So I think that I've always gotten a lot of really great feedback from all of you, and its characterization is huge. Like the motivation of the characters, like blocking is big. Like you all do a very good job of asking my kids directly. And it's funny because I always tell them not to talk. Like respond unless you're asked a pointed question. But you always do a really good job of saying, okay, like, why do you think that? Why is your character that way? Really dig deep. And it forces them to do so. And they always get better. They always do. Because they
They're
listen.
very responsive kids.
Yeah,
They are.
They are.
And
so
you've taught them well. You've taught
thank
them
you.
well, Michelle.
But that's helpful.
Mhm.
Just all the things that you're talking about that are important, you ask them as judges. And
Well,
so good.
Well, and I think that's one thing that is so important coming from you directors, that you let your kids know how much they'll be able to gain from a critique, and you challenge them to listen carefully and learn.
Yes.
And then I've been so impressed by how respectful and attentive kids
They
are in critiques.
Yes.
I just think that's such a big thing, and I applaud all of you directors for the super jobs you do with that. I think that just helps the educational process complete itself.
Yeah, for sure.
yes, and it's
Mhm.
theater, no matter whatever, how large the school or whatever. Creativity is so important. And this is a group event. I mean, group event. Yeah, a play as a group thing. It's a different kind of learning and investing yourself. And no, that's why I often think of these little schools that maybe don't even select the best of play. They haven't gotten, into it. They're doing the best they can, but they're still doing. And they're growing. And you can't denigrate that. And
They
who
give
knows
the
what's
kids the
ahead? Who knows
opportunity,
what's
don't they?
ahead?
Yeah. Yeah. If you, yeah.
But I do think that's something I've seen really develop through the years is the responsiveness of the kids. You know, when you go into an oral critique, it used to be sometimes it was like, oh my gosh, do we have to listen to this? And now it's they're engaged and thankful and do try. And not everything we say is gospel, you know. Sometimes we have ideas that the director knows that's not going to work. So
and they maybe know a reason why it can't work, and we don't
exactly.
know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I agree, though. It used to be, oh, they might be chatting with each other instead of really listening to what we're saying, and you think, oh, why am I here now? I wonder. But then it's changed. It really has changed. Yeah. And they're so eager. If you suggest something and they want to hop up and try it right now. And that, you know, that's really great. It is. And well, of course, we have the best kids in Nebraska, you know. We do.
Boy, we do.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, we do, for sure. Yeah.
I've had on a couple occasions, some people say, well, what do judges want? What do they want? Well, that's hard. I can't speak for someone else. And I would say, you know, and I know Caitlin and Michelle and so forth know their ballot pretty thoroughly. Yes. And you have to. Those are the things we base it on primarily. Of course, acting is first. And there is nothing on there on the ballot about the script, the quality of the script. I know that's discussed in here in the bylaws and so forth. Wasn't that at one time? I think the
script select, yeah, like the content of
the literary quality of the script.
Yeah.
I think at one time it was, maybe not that many years ago, but it isn't any longer. Well, yeah.
Eric, do you have anything you'd like to ask or comment on or talk about or anything? Or
me?
Yes, you. Yes, Eric. Yes.
Well, thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Something that I don't know if is necessarily a source of frustration or not as a director, but I have been concerned over the years about judges keeping up with trends in theater and ensuring that they're, you know, not necessarily up to date, but they're that's a horrible way to put it, but
we understand.
You know, I think that's my main concern.
Well, you know what? We are more than willing to make a trip to New York anytime. It'll be great. We want that. How would that be?
Funded
but
by
I
the
agree with you. We do, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Does anything in particular come to mind when you're thinking of keeping up with trends?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's pretty simple stuff. Like I've always been under the impression that it's okay for an actor to show their back to the audience. That's okay. And you know, I've been critiqued harshly for that in the past, and it was a purposeful choice as a director to do that. And also, you know, just keeping up to date on scripts and the literature, I think, is really important as well. That's a really
yeah, I agree.
I know we were just talking about scripts and the importance of scripts and the material, and I could not agree more. It's so essential to what we're doing that we need to pay homage to the playwright and making sure that is that's being honored.
But even those that choose a simpler script like the hillbillies, you know, there's so many hillbillies, but as a judge, we have to find something good in all of that because that's all they have. That's what they're working on.
Yep,
And
that's
in an encouragement in there. No, it's certainly not good literature, although I remember way back when once doing a hillbilly 3-act play. So
oh, that sounds horrible.
kids loved
It's a
it.
rite of
It
passage
was
or
a
something, isn't
competition.
it? Yes. Mhm.
And then I think just
But you know,
acknowledging that, you know, if you are seeing something like that, you know, like say somebody turns their back on the audience, like, you know, breaks the fourth wall, like whatever it is, that you either say like, yes, this was significant, it helped your show, it lended credibility to this moment, or, you know, it highlighted the specific scene or whatnot, or it fell flat, not because you turned your back on the audience, but because it just didn't have the effect that you wanted. And then I also think that, you know, if it depends on like when you're judging, like if you're judging during the regular season, like I want, like when I was directing, I wanted as many ideas as I could. I don't care if it's not on the ballot or not, any ideas that judge has. How can you help us get better? You know, what characters aren't good? What parts of the show are slow? What fell short? You know, just those kinds of things, because you're looking at the how do we improve?
I agree with him. You know, there was a time that you didn't turn your back to the audience. And of course, there are some, we know that from speech with the Splice poetry and everything, there are some that don't handle those changes very well. And it's too bad.
Yeah, I agree. That's what
and I
theater's
do
all
think
about, right?
it's
It's about
that's right.
experimenting,
Yeah,
it's about creating, it's about collaborating.
absolutely.
Collaborating. There you go. That's a good term.
The last thing we ever want to do
Yes.
is follow rules, right? In theater, I mean, we're there. to push.
Touche.
But push the envelope.
That's
Right.
right. That's
Right.
right. Mhm.
But I do think as judges, we have to keep up with things. And, you know, Janice said we'd be willing to go to New York anytime, but we
Anytime,
do
yes.
need to go. We
Yeah.
need to go see the professional plays, and we
Mhm.
do need to attend college plays and high school plays. And so we do keep up.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the lead theater is pretty good in itself, you know.
Mhm.
Well,
And it's-
Yeah.
On
Mention that
Hamilton.
I just took a bunch of my one act kids this afternoon to go see. My assistant coach was in Escanaba into Moonlight at the Loft in Manly, which is a
Okay.
script that
Oh,
very, very seldom gets produced. And it's a charming script. It's hysterical, but it's also very poignant at times. And it was so interesting to watch my kids react to that.
Sure. Good
And
idea.
you get to see
Yeah.
that literature being performed on stage and how it was interpreted by the director. It was a great experience. I was really happy
That
that they
would be.
yeah.
I took 44 kids to New York in May for
Oh,
4
that's
days.
exciting.
And one act kids, and they had a great time. We try to
many-
do that every other year.
Yeah, that's
And,
wonderful.
it was it's great for them because they get to experience off-Broadway, Broadway,
Oh.
cabaret
How many
shows.
shows do you get to see then when you're
About
when
4
you're
or
there?
5. About 4 or
What?
5 shows. 4 to 5 shows.
Isn't
Yeah,
that wonderful?
it is.
Wow, that's
Oh,
awesome.
It's a good
That
time.
is, it's
what
great.
an opportunity you're giving those
Yes.
kids. Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
They have a great
Yeah.
time.
Oh gosh, that's pat yourself on the back. Good job. Yes, yes. That's great.
Yeah. And you
I
know,
love-
it's fun. Sometimes you watch a very familiar play or one that might not be the most highly rated play, but then a director does something that just blows you away.
Right.
Maybe it's just one
Yes.
little thing, and you think,
Uh-huh.
wow, that changed that whole thing and made it
Yeah.
fresh and new. So,
Memorable. Right.
Memorable. Yes, there you go.
memorable. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yes, that's great. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Hello, Dana.
So,
Do you have something you'd like to comment on or ask or something?
Well, for me, I am even newer to the game than Michelle. But just trying
That's
to figure
okay.
out how to, for lack of a better word on a Sunday night, play the game for a small school. We're a D1 school, and so trying to find a script that works, that's not too complicated, because our student availability is very small. So we're working with a little time moments. And so I feel like sometimes the script that I've chosen hasn't come to fruition as well as it could have. So advice on selecting scripts that maybe would help kids shine more for small casts. That's really difficult. And
yes, it is hard.
And knowing that our demographic likes to stay out of the headlines with our content. We like to say something either humorous or something that's a story, you know, like a Helen Keller or those lines, but nothing that's going to be controversial, because our community just doesn't go for any of that. And so that's what's been our challenge over the last few years.
That's a big one.
You're not alone in that challenge, I bet.
No, we're not.
There's a lot of schools in that same boat, I think. And
generally,
but I think you mentioned Helen Keller. That's a classic show. Those are good ones to pick. They are. You know, there's nothing wrong with the show just because it's older. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's tried and true. I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead. I interrupted you there.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. I think it's so challenging, and you kind of have to think of where your talent is and how much availability the kids are going to have, and then try and pick a script with the characters in it that those students can play well. And, you know, we have many directors who have shown all of us how to use the chorus in order to involve lots of people and give them experience, but yet they might not have to be at practice every time. Whereas your core group, you expect more from.
And Dana, how many about do you have that are able to go out? I know you've got football and all that.
Yeah. We have usually somewhere between 6 and 10 for cast. So it was trickier this year for some reason. I don't know. We're slim pickings this year, but I think we found a good one.
Good.
Dana and I would just say just ask around. I mean, even if there's people that you're competing against, it's about the kids. And so just say, okay, I've got like 6 to 10 kids, and this is their level of, you know, ability, and just ask around, like ask people in this group, ask other teachers in your area, other coaches in your area, because like I said, while you compete against each other, it's truly about the kids. And I spend more time on text messages and emails to friends, like, okay, I've got this kid that can do this, or, you know, for me, more speech wise, like with OIDs, I've got this many kids and I need this many, what do you got? And, you know, just, it's hard to be comfortable being uncomfortable asking, but that's what I would say too. Just ask around, you know.
Good advice.
That first step is hard, but ask.
I second that. I had this summer, I think I read, not joking, I think I probably read 200 plays.
I feel like I have.
Are you cross-eyed yet or not?
And I asked for rights 5 times and got turned down.
Really?
Because I had chosen a play and I'd asked for rights, and I was approved for that, but I couldn't make any edits. And we all know that you have to be able to do that. I can't not.
Right.
So that was a huge struggle for me. And we're going with a script that this year, honestly, Dana, like I've never done this before, but I'm taking lessons from Becky Stair, and I gave my seniors 2 scripts, and I said, I'm okay with either one of these, pick. And so we had a night where we just like read and we talked and we discussed, and
that's great.
They chose. So like, I get it. It's hard. It's hard to find scripts. And I agree with Caitlin. Like, I asked lots of people this summer, I don't know what to do. Help me. And I got a lot of new resources too.
So wonderful.
I want to say too, Dana, playwrights are very accessible. They're human beings just like us. I reach out to playwrights all the time and say, hey, I really love your writing style. What else do you have? And you say, and 9, 10 out of 10, they will send me plays that have either A, not been published, B, are on the cusp of being published, and they're looking for someone to produce it for the first time.
Awesome.
Oh, great.
That's
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Find
That's
them and
great.
reach out to them. They're
Yeah.
very accessible.
That's great.
Hey, here's
Thank you so
another
much.
question for you guys. As play production judges, what do you look for first? Do you look for the overall spectacle and the overall story, like the completion, everything bundled up, the spectacle, or do you look at acting first? Just because I know judges have differences in what they look for. So not saying that one is right or one is wrong, but as a
Right.
judge, what do you look for? The spectacle or the overall, what's the word I'm looking for? The overall story or the overall effect, I guess, is probably how to tie it to the ballot, or acting.
Acting.
I would
Well,
say acting too.
Yeah, the
Acting.
acting is makes the
Yeah.
makes the rest of it.
If somebody can't act, that's gonna be a sore thumb. We'll see
Sure.
it then. And it'll hurt the whole story then.
And another thing that I looked for in the total product is the climax. Because all stories go somewhere, and I want to feel that.
Uh-huh.
If you
That's
cut
true.
something, if you were allowed to and didn't make a strong climax, then it's not successful.
Mhm.
And I think for me, I would say believability. Am I taken into the story and believe that it's happening, that these characters are real? And
Mhm.
I think that is primarily acting,
Yep.
because I want to believe them.
They
Yes.
have to know
Right.
their characters. Yes.
Mhm. And very basic things can hurt that character if I can't hear them, if I can't understand them because they're talking too fast or something. Those things can hurt that character because I'm not 100% with them then. I can't be.
And face, I think so many times they might, in their character, they might be in there and they quit speaking, and boy, it's gone. You know, and it has to fit together, though, that you react naturally to each other. So why would you drop it? Okay, I'm getting
They have
picked,
to
but
maintain that believability. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Skip judges a
And I
lot too here. And you
Yes,
said
yeah.
acting right away too, didn't you, Skip?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that and Linda hit it on the head. I say this, I'm an easy guy to convince. I really am, and I say this all the time in my oral critiques. I can clear my mind, and kid isn't an 15 to 18-year-old high school kid.
Right.
But do you make me believe that you're a 30-year-old
Right.
lady that hates her husband, or you're an 80-year-old guy that,
Yeah.
can hardly
That's
move?
hard.
You've got to make me believe, and that's the acting
Yeah.
part.
That
Yeah.
is.
Make me
Exactly.
believe that you are who you are.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that goes with not just when you're saying the lines, but
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're just on the set reacting or
Yes.
watching
Oh,
or
yes.
whatever you're doing.
That's part
to
of maintaining the
not drop.
believability, because if you let
Yeah.
the character drop when you're not speaking,
Mhm.
then we're not going to believe you.
You're seeing a lot more than you're heard.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
say that a lot as well.
You don't want us to have a subplot or, several behind the scenes take over, but they need to be active too. That just you don't want them overdone, but as they're on the stage, they need to be active.
Yeah.
In the scene with everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To enhance,
Believability,
yeah.
that's the term. That's
a
a
good one.
good choice of terms there, Linda. Thank you. That's good.
That was a good question, Taryn. That
Mhm.
is,
Yeah.
because it made us think.
That's right.
Yes, and as a
Awesome.
former director, I'm sure you maybe even have more. Do you have other questions that you've always wondered about?
No, not really. I just thought of that one, so figured I'd ask and
Well, that's
see.
a good one.
It was in the
good.
moment.
It was in the moment. Okay. Gotcha. Yes.
You know, and I will say too that, you know, having directed in a Class B school, and then when I went back after I retired to help in a small school, oh my gosh, did I gain respect for the directors who have to share their
There's a
kids with every
difference,
other
isn't there?
activity
I
and
know.
try and schedule and convince the administration your program is worthwhile. And oh my goodness, I had no idea what it was like.
Yes,
Right.
that's right.
Well,
Huge.
we have about 5 minutes left. So are there any last questions? I'm sure this could continue on into the evening, but next up I have a journalism Zoom. So I'm going to get ready for that. But
Okay.
yeah, any other questions by anyone about anything burning questions you need to know an answer to? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for attending our very first Zoom. We'll have one every month. Come when you can. And if you can't, no problem. I will make sure that we post these on under play production or speech based on the season we're in. So, or I guess where it's more geared toward. But yeah, thanks everybody.
And that's
Thank
good.
Thank you,
Sharon.
Sharon.
If someone
Thank
isn't
you.
here,
Sharon.
they can ask questions from what they've heard us say too. That's-
Absolutely. Yep. We can
That's
always
right.
follow up the next one. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.